Okay. It being 7 o'clock, I'm going to call this meeting of the Arundel Planning Board to order. Today is December 7th, 2021. This is a Zoom remote meeting. We will have, start with a roll call. We've got Marty Kane,
Yay.
Susan Roth, James Lowry, Paul Green,
Here.
and myself, the town manager. I love the way it says Keith underneath my name. I'm using his login for town purposes. We have approval of the agenda, approval of minutes for November 16th. We have time for public comment. We have one pending application, that is the Irving Road Subdivision Randrick Trust. And then we have a new application, Strickland Lane Commercial Building. Then other business, which would normally include the town planner's report. However, the town planner, his car broke down on the way home. He is not there. The last time I heard from him, he was waiting for AAA to come and tow him home. So he did not think he would make the meeting tonight. And then we can have a discussion about the quasi judicial versus legislative roles of the planning board. You should have a sheet of paper from SMPDC on that. So
Yep.
first thing we need is the approval of the agenda.
Make a motion, we approve the agenda as written.
Second,
Motion was made by Paul, seconded by Jamie. Susan, you are muted.
Okay,
Thank you. So we have a motion to approve. Any comments, questions about the agenda? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
aye,
It is unanimous. We have approval of the minutes for November 16th of 2021.
so
Aye.
moved,
Susan made a motion.
Aye.
Marty seconded it. Let the record show Tom McGinn has joined us. Welcome to you, Tom.
Buddy,
Okay, so any questions on or discussion related to the minutes of November 16th?
Nope.
And Susan Sinnet has joined us. Welcome, Susan. She looks bewildered.
There you go.
Oh,
Hi.
there you go. Okay.
Hello.
Okay, any comments on or changes to the minutes of November 16th?
Nope.
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the minutes of November 16th.
Moved by Susan Roth,
I'll second.
seconded by Paul Green. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
So
I
we
have to abstain.
have one abstention and three.
Yeah.
In favor? Works for me. The next item on the agenda is public comment. If there are any members of the public that would like to comment on something that is not on the agenda. Okay, hearing none, we will proceed on to pending applications. You should have a letter from Lee J in your packet. He is related to the soils out at the Irving Trust, and he is recommending that the application be tabled and either have someone from Longview Partners come in and discuss the soils or have a third-party soil evaluator review the soils on behalf of the board before we make any decisions. I'm a big fan of our having it peer reviewed.
I would agree with that.
Be good there.
Yeah,
So then if someone could make a motion that we will table this until we can get it peer reviewed.
motion
So
made.
moved.
Were you going to say something, Jamie?
I said so moved.
Oh, okay.
I'll second that.
Well, Marty made the move, so I'm going to give Jamie the second. They both
Okay,
got in there at the same time. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion is unanimous. I will let Lee J know tomorrow, and we can get out and get peer review to take a look at that. The next item on the agenda, Strickland Lane Commercial Building Site Plan Review, a proposal to construct a 7,500 square foot building on a 6.41 acre parcel, tax map 34, lot 3A, serviced by a driveway through 1312 Portland Avenue in the downtown business district and the SP Shoreland District. Signature Holdings LLC is the owner. Kevin Lord is the applicant, and Henry Hess of Sebago Technics is the owner's agent. And there's Henry. You all remember, this is the property that we walked back when Tad was still on as the planner. We walked around. There were questions about whether or not there was a stream that we got information provided from DEP that said they didn't think so. So we didn't have to worry about that crossing that was out there.
Yeah, that's a great introduction. I appreciate it. Yeah, if we could jog everybody's memory a little bit, we certainly this project has been kicking around a little bit, and now we're looking to bring a formal application forward. To kind of bring you up to speed again, though, is it's located in the downtown district 2 in Arundel. Tax map 34, lot 3A. Historically, lot 3A was part of the adjacent lot 3 on map 34. I don't believe the tax maps accurately at this time reflect the changes. There are some natural resources such as a freshwater wetland and a non-significant vernal pool on site. If I could actually potentially share a plan, that would be very helpful. I could give you guys a little orientation again.
Sure.
Currently don't have share capabilities. I don't know if they need to be handed over or if I need to
Yeah,
email it over.
I think, Rich, you have to do that, right?
You should be able to share it now.
Hey, there it is. Thank you, Rich. So yeah, this is just a brief overview of the whole site. Currently, as you can see, it's mostly a vacant wooden site consisting of some shallow pockets of ledge and some wetlands in the southern corner of the site. As stated during some previous site visits with the board and the MDEP, it was determined that the stream that was shown on the town maps is not actually located on this property. So the stream district surrounding it was also no longer actually over the property. There are going to be some wetland impacts to the site. Let me zoom in a little bit. I can actually show you those areas. We have some small areas here in this section and a little bit of impact due to some grading over here by the stormwater detention area. And as such, in RPA, permit by rule notice has been sent to DEP. But outside of that, there are no impacts outside of about 1,200 square feet, a little bit more than 1,200 square feet, and no further permitting with DEP is required at this time on our end. So the proposed development, as stated, is a 7,500 square foot, looking to be a kind of a commercial services flex space, providing space for folks who may either be contractor looking to have a professional space and have some vehicles, or again, anything that would kind of fall into that commercial services definition as well. Currently, the property owned on Portland Road to the south here, or I guess the south here is also is owned by Lord Boys LLC. They'll be granting an easement for access and utilities to go through that property and access the rear, or this particular parcel in the back here. There is a septic proposed for this particular parcel that'll be able to service the 5 different little flex spaces inside the building. We'll certainly be looking to service the project with underground utilities and a water well for water on site as well. Project shall generally adhere to the dimensional standards defined by Arundel's land use ordinance within the downtown district 2, downtown business district 2. It's currently handling any of the stormwater runoff via the 2 detention basins, one on either side of the building. It's less than an acre of impervious. The project will make sure to adhere to actually detaining the first inch of runoff from all new impervious surfaces. And at this time, there's about a 900 square foot or cubic foot, sorry, so 900 cubic foot difference in the treatment. The project is proposing to treat about 900 additional square feet that it's not required to treat, or it's capable of treating it. To give you an idea of the building itself, oops, there we go. Building itself, is everybody able to see the elevations?
Yep.
So you'll see there's 5 overhead doors with 5 man doors along the front side here. And along the rear, you'll see there's actually an overhead or lean-to style structure for some covered storage for each one of the units to provide any sort of small materials or perhaps a covered vehicle storage. The back of a pickup truck or something like that. So with that, I know the project's certainly looking for any board comments or to kind of take the next step of the board here. And if there's any comments or questions from the board at this time, I'd be happy to answer them.
So you're putting the well right in this area near that small building?
Correct.
Okay. And the septic system is going,
Oops, there we go. This should give you a little bit better look here. So the septic, be a septic tank here for some holdings, and then it'll be a gravity out to the leach field.
okay.
So I have a quick question. If this is really only used for storage, are those all parking spaces on either side of the building?
I should clarify a little bit. It's certainly not just for storage. It'll hopefully provide some usable office space for somebody who's either a contractor or within the commercial services permitted use. There is some available storage in the covered overhang to the rear. This dashed line here on the grading utility plan, this denotes some of the covered storage area. And if I could show, I'll be a little clearer here. This is the only area really intended for any sort of outdoor storage for any of the adjacent units within there. So they can have a small flex space to kind of have a small landing pad for a small business. And the use of an overhead door provides a little flexibility for, again, there's no current tenants yet, but it provides the flexibility that a tenant needs an overhead door could have one.
So how many parking spaces do you have allotted for this low usage, basically, building? Were those all parking spaces?
So there's about 26 parking spaces, and that includes 2 parking spaces that are going to be ADA accessible. That'll be an accessible route from the parking to the building. And those should certainly be enough to service the project itself and allow multiple employees at each flex space to be there at one time.
A lot of parking. So one of the things that Lee J says is he thought he didn't really understand why water needed to be to the building if it was primarily storage. But I can understand why you would want water to the building for whatever reason. But that if it grew beyond its original stated plan, that you would have to come back to the drawing board, to the planning board, to reconsider a new application for a different use.
Okay.
So I don't think that's unreasonable, but I don't know how the rest of the board feels about that.
To the chair.
Yes,
So the main purpose of this is for flex space for companies to utilize, as you said, for contractors, for painters and things like that. As it's stated, it's not really for any kind of store or any kind of public use other than just for private use for possible businesses. Hence the reason why there's a bathroom in the back for maybe an office or things like that. Is the general portion of the actual building just a big open room? From your drawings, I was trying to picture what's inside. You have in the back as an office, not an office, but a bathroom. But is the majority of that just a big open space with a garage door to it and a door option?
Yeah, and so typically what happens is with these, that's a great question. What happens is the shell kind of gets built, and as the tenants fill in, they'll actually provide interior walls and items like that for the tenants so that they can have the flexibility to use the space as needed.
But the tenants you're proposing are predominantly construction or things of that nature. There's really not going to be a lot of, there might be a meeting, let's say, with a client per
Sure.
se there, but it's not an ongoing customer service situation going in is what
Correct.
you're proposing. Okay.
Correct, yeah, and I think that's a valid point that Susan makes. If there's a use proposed outside of that, then it would certainly need to come in for some sort of change of use or some minor amendment to make sure the use is captured.
And there's truly one way in, one way out, except for the door beside it. There's nothing in the back.
Yeah, currently at this time, the architecture is showing just the man door here and then the overhead to the front. There's not currently access to the rear.
But the storage you were talking about is in the back, or the
Correct,
overhang.
yeah, yeah,
There's
there's
no way to
an
get
overhang.
from the overhang into, unless you walk all the way around the building.
Correct, according to these plans, there is not. I'd say that would certainly make sense at some point. But they're certainly not on there at the point.
That's
It's a great
actually a
comment.
good point, Susan.
There's no exit. You know what I mean? Like if you have people that you basically, you're going in and you're just, that's it. You're not, there's no other way out except for the infuse the door. You're
So
in a-
does would the
Doesn't
fire
seem-
chief require you to have an extra exit out the back?
Think should the building go for, for the site, this is kind of the shell we've been using for the site plan, but should the building move forward, actually going for building permit, it would come forward with the full build out and floor plans for the shell of the building. And I think you have a valid point in terms of it certainly need to be reviewed at that time by fire.
well,
Because I mean, if you're using that for storage, that's one thing, but if you're using it for
Mhm.
actual people working in an office, there should be an exit way to get out in case you can't go forward. You have no window,
Certainly.
you have nothing to get out the
Mhm.
back, you're stuck.
Good point, Susan.
Henry, have you seen the letter from the fire chief dated October 27th?
No, that actually has not been forwarded to me.
Oh. I'll have to ask the fire chief why not. At this point, he says the proposed plans state the building proposed is to be a commercial building that will include flexible space for commercial services. The description provided is not enough information for approval at this time. So he wants more information about it before he'll sign off on it.
And that was provided in October?
This is dated October 27th, although I must admit, it's been in our packet, but we haven't seen it. And it was supposedly sent to Sebago Technics as well as Lee J.
I'll certainly check our records, but I certainly don't have that letter on file in my record currently, but I could certainly have it in the wrong place, and I'll look again. This particular application was submitted in November as well. But so he was potentially reviewing plans that were not a part of this application. But either way, I believe it certainly holds true to this application in the same vein.
Yeah, I don't know what he was reviewing. He references the fact that it's Strickland Lane, 1312 Portland Road. Oh,
Mhm. That would be this application.
Yeah.
That will certainly make sure that following up with Lee J would be great to make sure we get that letter and any other potential comments that might be there that we may not.
Yeah, he quotes in there a sprinkler system or a fire alarm system with some kind of 2-hour fire resistance rating, depending on what's in there for industrial use.
Mhm.
You know, for example, if you had a welding shop in one bay and you've got a paint storage in another bay, those usually don't go well together if a fire breaks out. You
No
know,
way to get out.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
So you're not requesting any waivers at all, I see.
No, at this time, there, excuse me, there's no waivers requested.
Okay.
So, and Henry, you said this, will this go through the DEP for stormwater review?
Yes, actually, it has, and that it's not really an approval letter, but it's an acceptance letter has been sent to Lee J as well.
So you've submitted for the stormwater permit and they've accepted your application?
Yeah, it's a notice of intent for a permit by rule
Oh,
for
okay.
for the impacts there associated with the wetlands, and it does cover being compliant with the main general construction permit for the stormwater.
So, but they're not reviewing your stormwater management structures or features.
Yeah, that is correct. The review would be happening at the town level for this. There's
Yep.
less than 1 acre of impervious for the site. It's currently the 2 BMPs on site, one on either side of the building. Pull that up for you here. One located this side of the building to the rear, and one located to the front side of the building over here. They're able to detain about 4,200, about 4,240 square cubic feet of runoff. The proposed impervious, we're only calculating that we're needing to treat 3,325. So there's an excess in storage in there that is required. So we're going to be required to meet the basic standards within chapter 502, I'm sorry, within chapter 300 of DEP.
500.
Thank you.
So Rich, that may be something if we wanted to send that for peer review.
Okay.
Henry, can I ask, well, you mentioned there was an insignificant vernal pool. Is that it to the north? Where is it?
This portion, a portion of this wetland area does have a non-significant vernal pool, of which we're certainly not impacting at this time.
Okay.
Where is
Okay.
the property line there?
The property line that goes down this side continues a little further off the page here. I can show you on an overall here.
No, I'm just saying overall, when you were looking, because when we were there, it looked like it had been cleared all the way up to the property line of when we were there last time.
You mean on the right-hand side when you're looking at it, right, Marty?
Yes.
So
because-
do you mean kind of this location?
No, I mean, because when we were there behind the building, where the vernal pool was, and to the north, it looked like it had been cleared everything had been cleared so that you were taking all the firewood and everything else out up to the
Yeah,
property line.
I do remember that comment coming after the site visit. Sadly, I know that certainly there hasn't been any other activity out there. I don't think it was meant to be jumping the gun at any time there. That I do remember that coming back from the board. I believe that was certainly not, that was an ill-advised move by the applicant. But perhaps, I don't know when that happened, though. I don't know if it happened
It was.
a year ago
it
or
was-
2 years ago, or.
He actually started clearing all that even before an application was put in.
Mhm.
But it was my comment, Henry,
Yeah,
as we
I
were
do.
walking it, it had been pretty much cleared.
Yeah, I do remember your comment and certainly the stern reminder that certainly clearing before an application goes in is not recommended. It's not a good look either. So I will say it's not something I was aware of at the time until brought to my attention by Susan. And I guess that's all I have to say about that one there.
I don't see much in terms of the lighting specs.
Mhm.
I'm assuming that there's going to be some lighting on the exterior.
There was a lighting study included, the last page of the book. I don't know,
Yeah, there is a one-page thing in here, but
Oops. Oh, having trouble accessing files. Let's try that again. Pull up the site plan there. I can
Section
show you guys the lighting
13.
plan.
Yeah.
Yep, it's the last page there. That should specify the type of lights and who makes them. I believe they're Hubble lights, but I'm also having trouble pulling that up at the moment.
yeah,
Internal or external?
There will be wall packs on the, I can show you on this plan here. There'll be wall packs for every, or a light on the wall for every overhead door,
okay.
as well to the rear. And then there will be some site lighting as well. There'll be about 4 different lights around the site to provide some additional lighting for the parking for safety that are shown on that lighting plan that I'm having trouble bringing up.
on that light plan that is included in the application, it's so small, it's such a reduced scale. It's hard to really know what types of lights are being used or the readings themselves.
Would particular cut sheets of the lighting help?
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah, even with my readers, I can't read that. So it's like-
Certainly. There should have been full sizes, 24 by 36 is included in the application as well. But I recognize the 11 by 17s may be very difficult to read.
yeah, these
There we
aren't
go.
even 11 by 17. These are 8.5 by 11. That's,
Six.
There we go.
You see that?
There we go.
You see how tiny that is? That's not, yeah.
That's pretty difficult to read.
Yep.
So here we are with as proposed here, or as stated, the proposed lighting around the parking for safety,
Mhm.
as well as the small notifications here over each overhead door. And what that is here is it tells us exactly which light we're using and is proposed, how many lumens it puts out, and the foot candles surrounding the site, making sure that we don't exceed any foot candles at the perimeter of the site. Certainly make sure that the board gets a full-size copy of this. One was not included in the packet.
Now, Henry, are they all shielded so they don't cast to the rear of the pole?
Absolutely, yeah, full shield cutoffs on a handful, especially. You'll
Yeah.
see here, the light really doesn't cast. You'll get a little bit less than a
Yep.
foot candle behind this,
Oh, yeah.
but yeah, it's not casting to the rear.
Since we don't know what this is going to be really, because it's a shell and it's going to be creating the businesses, is there clearance in the parking lot and within the entrance for any kind of trucks? For like deliveries or things like that?
That's a great question. Yeah, there's actually a great, there's a wider drive aisle through here to allow larger truck movements. Down to a 24-foot wide drive aisle, and then on this side, it's actually a 30-foot wide drive aisle, again, just to provide some wider access for larger vehicle turning.
How about entrance and exiting the property?
Yeah, from entrance and exit on overhead, they do have a pretty wide, clear drive to exit and enter.
Henry, no loading dock?
At this time, no, I don't, there are no loading docks proposed.
They're not really sure what the businesses will be, so.
Well, there are just so many parking spaces. I'm sorry to be on a hobby horse, but there are 5 units that are 1,500 square feet each. And there's 26 parking spaces. That's 5 parking spaces plus minus per, facility or storage unit or office unit or whatever you want to call it. So there must be some plan for it to be, capable of being more than what's being proposed right now, because you're certainly building as if you're planning for something more. At least that's what it appears to me.
I don't know what the future phases are for the rest of this parcel or for this particular project, other than I will say if perhaps a contractor has a space here, he might have a couple of trucks that he'd like to park in the lot as well. So they might have a couple of trucks that could take up a handful of spaces per unit, as well as if you were to have 2 or 3 people in one flex space. You could have upwards to anywhere between 3 and 5 cars per unit there.
And a contractor could take more than 1 unit if he or she wanted it. Is that right? And merge
Yeah,
them?
I believe that is the case. Yeah, and at that time, yeah, you're right. Things like this demising wall between 2 units would really, you'd be looking at changes to the interior.
Mhm.
I must tell you, it really doesn't have any impact on anything, but having the wall packs on the exterior on the back side of the property without having a door there just seems weird.
I'm more concerned for the safety of the fact you go in, you can't come out.
Right.
That's a whole separate issue. I just find the way it's set up right here.
I think it was an oversight.
Mhm.
Well, Rich, that would provide illumination of the storage areas.
Yeah, the lighting in the back can certainly provide additional safety lighting to the rear of the building, as well as that's a great point, additional lighting for storage areas as well.
Oh, yeah, no, I understand all of that. I just think it's very funny because there's no doors going out. What are we lighting it up for?
Well, I mean, but to others' point, I think I would be very surprised if the building was given a permit without a secondary means of egress. So,
Because there's actually no window, there's nothing. Like you have walls on all the way around. There's no windows, there's no exit, there's no anything. So once you're in, you're in. And
Yeah.
secondly, that you're talking about your lighting on the exterior, your lighting does not have, since there is no way to get to the back of your storage, you'd have to go into your road. And to go into your road, you're potentially causing issue for someone trying to walk to get all the way to the back in the dark. You're providing lighting, but not great lighting. There should be a path. If you're not going to have that back door, there should be a path going from there around your building, not just walk into our parking lot and take your best shot, because there's no way to get there.
Certainly, yeah.
The
No,
design
I hear
is
you.
not the best for safety.
I hear that. I think certainly we'd look to address any sort of building concerns and making sure the building has everything it needs for safety and would be approved by the fire marshal and department there for before this ever got a building permit.
Henry, you're also showing another smaller building right at the entrance driveway. What would that be for?
This one, I believe, really will just be for some storage. It's a very similar style building. It's just going to be actually for, purchasing of storage area.
Is that where they plan on putting the wood splitter and everything else, the processing machine?
That's a great question.
Because I
couldn't-
think that's what you had stated at Sidewalk.
I believe that probably was Steve Doe on the site walk there. If Steve said that, that's most likely what's going there. That's for sure.
Would it be a separate unit or is it going to be part of one of the other units?
I'm not sure how it'll be divvied up in terms of ownership or leasing space. If I imagine, again,
It won't have its
something.
own bathroom, will it? Just storage only?
Yeah, I don't believe there's going to be a bathroom. There is water going to it. And I believe one comment Lee J did mention to me is he didn't notice a septic line coming out of the building. As if we have water, it's got to get out. That was a plot error that we'll be submitting to him to make sure we have those bases covered.
And Henry, no bathrooms in any of those units?
No,
There is going to be one bathroom currently in the rear of each unit.
Per unit? Okay.
Mhm.
What is the construction of of the outer building? Is it also with a garage door and a door, or is it just simply?
It'll certainly mimic. Yep, it'll mimic the rest of the units there.
Except for the bathroom
Mhm.
and, okay. Same situation, no other exit, no windows, just a big space. I'm gonna hound you on it just because I'm curious. of what the
I
situation is.
appreciate that. I appreciate that. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know all about the architecture. And I imagine again, before a building permit is issued, further and more detailed drawings will be coming forth.
Okay, thank you.
If I may, to Chair, to Lee J's point about the plumbing lines coming in, but no septic coming out, you'll have to define that somehow. I think if there's going to be, my take would be if there is septic and plumbing coming in, I think it almost should be considered to be a sixth unit, which is fine, but because I don't know how we could not count that as part of something else. Because it is so separate from the others. Why not rent it separately?
And that's the thing, I believe from an ownership or leasing perspective, I believe, it certainly could be, but same as the other flex spaces. Sorry, I'm trying to get back to the, don't mean to flip around. Same as the other spaces here, you could have one owner or one leasee come in and own two of them.
But you're presenting it as 5, therefore it should be presented as 6. And potentially it could be gone with someone else, therefore it could be back to 4, back to 3, back to 2, back to 1.
And I think if you present it as 5, you'd be restricted from having that sixth one. Where if you propose it as 6, it gets approved, you can always have a reduced number. But if you need more, you'd have to come back for another approval.
Certainly, yeah. That's a valid point. I think certainly we'd look at this as then 6 units total if we can make sure that if that's just to avoid coming back.
And once you get clarity on whether or not there will be any kind of facility in there and how the waste is coming out of it, if you have water going to it, it would be more marketable as well for yourself that there's 6 units versus there's 5 units in an outbuilding.
Mhm.
It's just storage or that's different. But once there's plumbing involved, I think it should be considered a unit.
We can make note on that and any comment in response to Mr. Lee J and to you and the board as well.
Overall, it's in pretty good shape. It's just a few things like a rear door and maybe the lighting study, whether that's a unit or not. So there's just some questions, but nothing that really, I think, will get in the way of moving forward that I can see.
The only other thing that I see from the letter that Lee J gave us relates to the cost estimate. The cost estimate currently contains a 10% contingency, but the ordinance requires 15.
Certainly.
That's it.
I think we'd certainly look to revise that if the board and Lee J would like to review that as well.
Now, are these units gonna be heated?
Yeah, I believe the units will be, but I also am not gonna commit to saying they definitely are. But at this point, there's electric going to them. If you're looking for like a fuel source other than that. that
I
certainly is
just
not- that's-
asking in general,
Yeah, that one's.
because
not
I didn't know if
currently
you were gonna
planned.
be, propane or oil, who knows? I mean, because I don't think you're gonna do solar.
Mhm.
There's no ventilation shown for any kind of combustible heating units on that.
Yeah, can the board help me understand a little bit more? The building itself will certainly undergo its own building permit review in Arundel, correct? They'll be separate of the site plan application.
You wanna say that again?
Will the building itself undergo a building permit review or building permit review
It's
that
separate.
will
Yes,
separate of the site plan review?
No, not separate from. The codes enforcement officer will look at the building and make sure that it's in compliance and that it agrees with what the site plan says
Mhm.
in terms of location and the wall packs and the other fun stuff.
Yep. But when it comes to ventilation and heating and other items, certainly if there's areas proposed on site plan that need to be shown, to whether it's a fuel source or other, that should be shown as well in the site plan, I understand. But ventilation routes or other interior items such as that, will that be required to be shown during the site plan process here?
No,
Yeah. Those are all out, those are all outside of the planning board process. That would be, the building codes would be through the
Code
permitting,
enforcement.
code enforcement.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, I guess, is there any additional feedback from the board? It's all been very helpful to make sure we can move this project forward as best we can.
To the north, what are you going to use that as for buffering from because are those all new trees that are being planted all the way around there?
Yeah, I'll bring up the landscape plan for you. What you're seeing here, this outline
Yeah.
is what's intended to be the remaining canopy line. The canopy line after, clearing for stormwater or other grading and for the building. And then proposed is a row of evergreen trees where the canopy line is the thinnest to help provide some screening to the abutter, as well as a few parking area trees and some landscaping, shrubs and perennials along the sides of the building.
Yeah, but what about to the north where your vernal pool is?
To this section, now right over here, there's actually still going to be some canopy line here, and let me see if I can pull up. There's some grading impacts along this section, and all the grading moves water to the detention area. And this will just remain existing trees and canopy here.
Yeah, but that I think was all clear cut.
Well, if it's helpful, we can certainly make sure that our canopy lines are matching what's existing today. I believe, from our survey and our records and what we had a canopy line of a wooded area. So if it's been cleared and we need to determine a clear, the new extents of that, then perhaps that's something we can discuss. From our initial survey of the property, we had this as a wooded site, and we've certainly designed this as such. If there's an area that's been completely cleared that we're not representing appropriately, certainly I'd like to clear that up for the board.
I seem to remember that the area to the north was a little more cleared than what we're seeing on the plans,
Sure.
but I can't be positive.
Mhm.
Well, they had a lot of firewood stacked, either ready to be cut. Remember, Marty?
Yes, but that was to the south.
Right, it was right over, you can't see my arrow, but it was right near the parking spaces as you walk out and go towards the building in the front.
Yes. That's where the big wood processor was,
Yep.
Right,
because that's part of what they cleared, but also too, with the lords, they do a lot of houses and they have to remove all that excess. Am I right?
I'm sorry, was the question proposed to me? I didn't understand.
No, it
the-
was
the
just in
question.
general. Everybody went silent. I didn't know if the talking was still going or not.
I didn't have a question, Henry. I just was remarking that over there in the corner as you exit, there was a huge pile of wood, and on the other side of the road over, I guess you can't see my arrow. Yes, over
Over on
there.
this side here, yeah.
Yeah, there was a ton of it and a processing machine.
You know, that this particular area here is, we do show that extents, you know, there's a clearing limit here. You can see, or not a clearing limit, but the canopy line here. Where we tie into the darker line, you'll see is what we've actually shown as proposed. Due to impacts, that'll be proposed back to this area, and then where it goes to the lighter gray, this is actually going to be, this is existing. So if this is the area that potentially looked further cleared, certainly doing our best to represent that on our plans.
Yeah,
I was
think
just
that- I think
commenting.
that area that you were just pointing out was cleared. That,
Mhm.
you know, I'm more, if you look at the building and the small building,
Yep, over in this
over up
area.
on that side, and heading back a little bit further to the tree line, I thought was cleared more than that.
Okay. But I can certainly confirm that and make sure that that's shown appropriately if it's not.
And
if it's not this
it may
particular
very
time.
well be, and because I remember seeing there was stuff, it almost looked as if the ground had been pushed up and to create a berm.
Mhm.
Does the board have anything else for the applicant?
I don't. I mean, they still have a lot of questions, and the fire chief has to sign off. So I think they'll be back.
I do believe.
In fact, I know they'll be back.
If you can get us the changes before December 21st, we can put you on the agenda for the January 6th meeting.
Why? You guys are really booking out. We'll certainly do our best to get everything back.
We
to
don't
you.
have another meeting this month. This is the only one that we have.
Certainly. Well, December 21st is the date we're going to aim for you guys and make sure we get, I heard a few things, whether it pertains to rear door access or building access, additional information on the lighting, including some spec sheets, just confirming the clearing limits, and then making sure that our cost estimate shows the 15% and not the 10% contingency.
And we also talked about additional information on the outbuilding, whatever that is intended, not intended, but any specs on it or.
Sure.
And the fire chief approval.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What color is it gonna be?
Don't care.
Where'd Jamie go?
Right here.
Oh, okay, I can't see you on the screen. You had suggested a peer review on
Stormwater.
stormwater. Yep, okay.
Now, is that something that Mr. Lee will be sending out? The
Yes.
board will be sending out? Okay. I'm sure the action on our part, we can certainly take it. Or again, just trying to figure out where the action lies.
Yeah, no, Lee J will be contacting the people to do the peer review.
Sounds good.
Great.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate everybody's time tonight, and the comments are certainly valuable. We'll look to turn things around for you for that December 21st.
Hey, looking good.
Thanks again, guys. Take care.
All right, take it
Thank
easy.
you.
Okay. Next,
Who's Jerry?
I have no idea.
Jerry's a public person.
Whoever he
Hello.
is, welcome, welcome.
Hi. Just checking in.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
And to you also. Okay, so the next two items, the first was a discussion regarding removal of hazardous trees in Oak Ridge Terrace Phase 1. But I'm not sure what Lee J wanted to discuss with us about those trees, because it's not anything that we have control over. That goes into the Codes Enforcement Office.
Or is that in the no cut zone?
Well, no, if it's a hazardous tree, it can be cut.
Yeah.
It's just a question of, I don't know why he had it here. He wanted to discuss something about it with us, but there's no notes that indicate exactly what that was.
Who determines they're hazardous or not hazardous?
Codes Enforcement. At least that's my understanding of it.
If a hazardous tree is removed in the buffer zone, do they have to be replaced?
I don't think so. I don't know that answer.
Yeah, that's convenient.
They may have to, if it says that they have to maintain a buffer, something's removed, they have to
Right.
replace.
If they take it out and it destroys the buffer, then yes, it would have to be fixed. But if they just, if it's not going to have any kind of a visual impact, then I would say no.
Who makes the call on that? Is that the code enforcement? Must be.
Yeah, I would assume, because he's responsible for everything. Once it leaves our hands, he's responsible for all of it,
He's the sheriff.
pretty much.
Or would that come under Public Works?
No, it would not be Public Works.
It's a private road.
I'm just wondering and thinking of it, if it was near the road itself. Or
It's
the
a private
tree fell
road. They
that
don't
way.
come up here and do anything up
yeah.
here.
It's a private road. Public Works won't do anything out there.
Okay,
I'm sure he's available to give him his opinion, but it still belongs to the code enforcement officer.
I'd like to know what that information is of discussing what Oak Ridge Terrace 1 hazardous trees are, because there's no trees left in Oak Ridge Terrace 1 to take down that aren't already being built out.
Okay, so let's look at the other. We'll leave that one. When Lee J shows up at the next meeting, he can update us with whatever his thoughts on it were. The other thing that he gave us was this other sheet on the quasi judicial versus legislative roles and how we should be acting.
Mhm.
And we fit into both of these categories. We're quasi judicial because we get to make a ruling on whether or not the applicant has met the standards of the land use ordinance. And we're legislative because we write the land use ordinance.
I mean, a lot of it is, I think we do already.
I think we
In
do a
fact,
lot of it.
I think we do all of it. well, maybe not perfectly, but well.
Well, I think when you look at the list, there are various aspects that we need to be aware of.
Mhm.
You know, starting on the first one, don't talk or email about an application outside of the meeting. Don't talk about it with other board members or with members of the public.
I think we've talked about this last 3 meetings in a row. I don't know how many times we have to really be reminded of it.
I have no idea. This is what he gave us. But he does make the point that if you're in the legislative mode, if we're discussing writing an ordinance, like the town charter is under review, that is more of a legislative position, so they can talk to anybody about what's going on in there. Because that's not, other than recommending it to the town, it's not an actionable situation. But whatever you do, don't talk to other board members, just talk to the public.
Well, because that's a good point, because I had Jannard SL Tech come in today and ask me what was going on, because he hasn't heard about anything, and he's the abutter north,
On which property?
the one we were just talking about,
Oh, okay.
Strickland's.
I don't know if he got notified
Nope,
that he wasn't told they were on the agenda.
nope.
Okay, we will have to do a public hearing on that, and he will get notified on that.
But this is only preliminary, so I mean,
Yeah.
Well, when we get to the approval process. we'll
yeah,
have
but
to have
what
a
I'm just
public hearing.
saying is the application isn't complete yet, is it?
No,
No, not by a long shot.
That's what I mean, so it's preliminary.
you should probably tell them, take a look on the town website at the agenda. That's what we're supposed to be discussing on that night. So if he sees something up there, then he can come and participate in the discussion or hear what we have to say about it.
Well, I told him
not-
to come, I told him to come to the Zoom meeting.
Yep, absolutely.
That's the best thing to do.
That's the appropriate thing to do, because not everybody is going to get a postcard telling them that their neighbor is doing something. Not everything requires that kind of a notification.
Right.
I love the try to be impartial.
I think all those things on the left side anyways, we do very well,
We do.
except for the last one. And it's a tricky one because we can't shut off the public all the time. We have to give them some voice. But sometimes people do get off track. It's completely unrelated to the standards at hand. So
Yes,
know
I
what-
can think of a couple that were specifically egregious. Like,
sometimes it goes on 20 minutes and it's completely off track.
I think that's addressing us when we make public comments, not when the public makes a comment to us. When we make the comment back,
Well,
what we're supposed to do, it meets the requirements of the ordinance.
it could be that as well. Sometimes I guess we get off track too.
Oh, yeah, we do. I'm a good one for trying to chase something down a rabbit trail. But I thought that applied more to us.
Okay, I was thinking the public.
The public can say anything they want.
No, it does say the only relevant public comment. And I don't know if that's just us or the public.
Yeah, I took it to mean us because that's when we're in the quasi judicial
Right.
mode.
Okay,
I think Rich is right. What it's saying is the only relevant public comment we can make is the one that is respect to, that it meets the standards or it doesn't, and why, period.
Okay.
And they'll go into the personal stuff.
yeah. Good job with that.
I do like the one in the middle. It says consistency in interpretation is important, but if you discover that past practice has been wrong, don't keep doing it. You know, I found hitting myself on the left side of my head was not a good idea. I should probably stop doing that. Hit the right side for a while.
You can keep doing that, Rich.
And then I disagree with one part of this next statement. Popularity of the project, who the applicant is, and whether you personally like the applicant or the project are almost always irrelevant. Take the word almost out. They are irrelevant.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be. It should be.
All right.
But other than that, any comments, questions,
Nope.
snide remarks?
Mary,
Yeah, have a good holiday.
Yes. You
Merry
guys have a
Christmas
Merry
to you.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy
Merry
New Year.
Happy New Year.
Hopefully we'll see you all in the new year.
And the next meeting is when?
January 6th, I believe. It's the first Tuesday in January.
No, it wouldn't be the sixth, it'd be earlier than that. First, second,
right,
fourth,
because New Year's Day is a Sunday, right?
January 4th.
January 4th, okay. Yep, January 4th. Next meeting.
I'm glad we're zooming.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure glad we're on Zoom with all this new bull stuff going on.
Yeah, this works.
Yeah, and it works quite well.
I'll be in California on the 4th, so I can just zoom in.
I
There you
will
go.
too.
We're
Where
in
are you gonna
California.
be?
I'll
Southern?
be in Encino.
Encino, okay.
Yeah,
And I'll
just-
be in San Francisco.
Okay.
And I'll be in Arundel.
And I'll be around
I'll
the,
send you sunshine.
I'm glad you two guys clarified that because that's how rumors start.
Yes. I'll meet you in Fresno, Tom. Well, everyone have a great holiday.
guys, you too.
Thank you.
Take care.
All of you.
All right,
you.
good night, everyone.
Right.
Night.